Let's cross the studio. And what a hot studio we have tonight. The temperature's going wild in here. I don't know what's going wrong with the air conditioning, but I apologise if I look like I'm sweating. Emma James, good to see you.
Yes, hi there.
Media Watch. You've been taking a look at how the famine in Somalia is prompting one social media star to do something that is, well, pretty inspiring.
Yes, social media is often written off as something for the vain and the inane, frankly. But Jérôme Jarre, a Frenchman, has actually swapped selfies for being selfless. This 26-year-old Frenchman actually became possibly the first ever celebrity made on social media alone. That was all he was famous for. 8.6 million followers on the website Vine, where he produced all manner of these strange little 6-second videos. They're all quite silly, it has to be said, and that's perhaps why it's so surprising that what he's gone on to do is this. He was inspired to begin a campaign to get help to the people of Somalia who are currently experiencing a famine. He spoke to a volunteer in Somalia who had just watched a 6-year-old girl die, and he was so moved by this that he not only criticised the mainstream media because he felt they weren't doing enough to publicise the problem, but he also asked Turkish Airlines to provide him with a flight, and he said he would find a way to fill it with aid. Well, Turkish Airlines got back to him very swiftly and said, "We love Somalia, we got the call for this meaningful flight," and said they would go along with the plan. And today that flight, packed with 60 tons of aid, actually arrived in Somalia. Jérôme has been tweeting today, famine has a name, her name is Muna, she is 5 years old. And it's really interesting to see because, of course, we hear all the time about the figures involved and the like when it comes to famine. But this really puts a face to it, and a smiling face at that. This isn't just the face of a starving, suffering child, but obviously at some point in the near future, she would be suffering because of the shortages that are being experienced out there. He also tweeted some images because, of course, France right now says Somalia is simply too dangerous. They advise people against travelling to the country. He points out he has just been met with huge smiles from all involved. Some people are a little bit suspicious about his motivations, but many very happy with what he's done. Jérôme Jarre used a hashtag to fly food and water to Somalia, and this Twitter user says, "I know Jérôme Jarre from Vine. It's inspiring to see people your own age who got famous for nothing, but then used that fame to make the world a better place." Now, Le Monde reported on this, saying that in a tweet, a French star of the internet found a plane and filled it with aid for Somalia. It wasn't quite as simple as that, slightly more complicated. They worked under the name Love Army for Somalia, created a GoFundMe campaign. As you can see, nearly $2.4 million has been collected. Ben Stiller got involved too because, of course, in his role as a social media celebrity, he got to meet lots of stars, the rich and famous, and they got involved. Ben Stiller's foundation key to making all this happen and making it work, getting the aid on the ground. And Omar Sy, the French actor and comedian, tweeted this today. He's one of the people who donated, saying solidarity is the remedy. Now, it is a drop in the ocean for the problems facing Somalia, but let's hope this sets a precedent.
And even if he is getting something out of this in terms of publicity, the fact of the matter is all that cash has been raised, all that stuff's going to Somalia, and that's helping.
Absolutely.
So, hats off to the guy. Hats off to him. Now, you've also been casting an eye over some reactions to a British newspaper's, sexist front page. Show us the front page and tell us what people have been saying about it.
Yes, the Daily Mail, once again, this is the second time in less than a week that we've been talking about the front page of the Daily Mail for all the wrong reasons. And this is getting huge, huge attention. Never mind Brexit, who won Legsit? The two women in the photographs, Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon and Theresa May, the UK Prime Minister. Apparently, whatever they were talking about wasn't important, but the fact that they had their legs exposed is. Harriet Harman, former politician, says moronic and we are in 2017. Ed Miliband, the former leader of the opposition Labour Party, said the 1950s called and asked for their headline back. However, if you're expecting an apology from the Daily Mail, you're going to have a long wait ahead of you because their response to this spat was to tell po-faced left-wingers to get a life and a sense of humour. So clearly they don't think there's anything wrong in just reducing women to nothing more than their body parts on the front page, no matter what their political and...
Am I right in thinking this is a gang of blokes who concocted all this and came up with this idea?
It was actually a female writer who wrote the article, and if you're thinking perhaps it was
She's
just
been
the
pressured by
headline,
blokes, though, surely.
well,
Yeah, okay, carry on.
the woman in question, Sarah Vine, isn't the best liked journalist in the United Kingdom, it has to be said. However, if you're thinking it's just the headline that's the problem, no. If you look at the body of the article itself, no pun intended, she points out this Twitter user, Helena Langdon, a couple of passages where they say there is no doubt that both women consider their pins to be the finest weapon in their physical arsenal. Consequently, both have been unsheathed. She also refers to sturgeon's shorter but undeniably more shapely shanks. Not a word I've ever heard of before. Julie Dunn, a Twitter user, says that this is the way to show all young girls that no matter what they do, they will always just be regarded as objects. Other Twitter users are seeing the humour in wondering what would happen if you did the same thing to male
This
politicians.
is a nice idea, isn't it?
Absolutely. You've got David Cameron, the former PM, Jeremy Corbyn, the current opposition leader, Michael Gove, who's actually married to the woman who wrote that article, Sarah Vine.
And look at the way he's dressed. Says a lot
And
about it,
Boris
doesn't it?
Johnson looking really rather dapper there. It's quite a horrific sight. Other people have posted things like this. Wowie, the pins on that Churchill. And you've got Winston Churchill resplendent in a bathing costume there.
That is the most athletic I've ever seen Churchill look.
Yes, absolutely. As for Theresa May herself, well, her reaction has been fairly muted. She says that as a woman in politics throughout my whole career, I have found that very often what I wear, particularly my shoes, has been an issue that has been looked at rather closely by people. If people want to have a bit of fun about how we dress, then so be it.
And of course, the Daily Mail supports unequivocally the Conservative Party of Theresa May. Just thought I'd add that.
And her legs.
And their legs. Emma, thank you very much indeed. Great to see you. Emma James from Media Watch. And thank